We tend to picture history as a straight line of progress, but look closely at the ancient history of the Indian subcontinent and you'll see a violent pendulum. It swings wildly, from fluid egalitarian societies to rigid oppression, and finally to massive structural rebellions. Let's start at the baseline, around 2600 BCE, with the Indus Valley Civilization. This was an urban society built on mercantile trade. They prioritized commerce over military conquest. Their archaeological record reflects this focus on the public good. Looking at these stone-covered underground drainage channels and standardized brick walls, you don't find monumental palaces or temples meant for a ruling elite. You find extreme civic planning designed for public hygiene. That flexibility carried over when the Indo-Aryans migrated into the region. They initially built a pastoral society where women participated in political assemblies and social roles were not yet locked by birth. For thousands of years, adaptability was the defining trait of the subcontinent. An individual's destiny was not yet dictated by the circumstances of their birth. Then, the technology shifted. As the Aryans migrated eastward into the mid-Gangetic plains, they discovered iron. With iron axes, they could suddenly chop through thick forests that had been impassable for centuries. This cleared the way for a sprawling agricultural boom. This created a new source of stationary wealth, permanent farmland. To protect these assets, people settled into established territorial kingdoms known as janapadas. Rulers and priests needed a way to consolidate control over this newfound land and grain. They took the once fluid social system and warped it into a rigid, birth-based hierarchy to ensure their grip on power. Ironically, the very tools that fueled progress, iron and farming, also caused society to calcify, setting the trap for a highly oppressive system. Between 1000 and 500 BCE, the Late Vedic Period saw the Varna, or caste, system lock into place. This structure placed the Brahmin priest class at the absolute pinnacle of social power. They maintained a monopoly on status by designing hyper-complex religious rituals. Only Brahmins were permitted to perform them, making their services mandatory for any ruler seeking legitimacy. These ceremonies required animal sacrifices on a scale the region had never seen before. This chart illustrates the fatal friction in the system. As the demand for sacrifices went up, the cattle population plummeted. The priests were slaughtering the very animals that the new Iron Age agricultural economy needed to plow the fields. The religious hierarchy was actively cannibalizing its own economic engine. This bred intense resentment among the kshatriyas, the warrior princes who governed the land and managed the failing harvests. While the priests focused on rituals, the Vaishya merchant class was experiencing a quiet revolution. Thanks to new urban centers and trade routes, they were accumulating immense wealth. We see proof of this economic shift in the archaeological record. These punched-marked silver coins, with irregular shapes and diverse symbols, represent a burgeoning decentralized trade network. These specific coins allowed merchants to store and move wealth outside the control of the traditional elite. But the social laws refused to acknowledge this new reality. Brahminical law books condemned moneylending and trade, denying these wealthy merchants any path to social respect or upward mobility. By hoarding status at the top while suppressing both the farmers and the merchants, the elite had inadvertently built a socio-economic pressure cooker. Around 600 BCE, that pressure cooker exploded. The result wasn't a bloody civil war, but a radical philosophical rebellion. This wasn't a movement from the bottom up. Mahavira, the figurehead of Jainism, and Siddhartha Gautama, the Buddha, were both Kshatriya princes. These were warriors leading a direct revolt against Brahmin dominance. Their rejection of the old guard was absolute. Look at the visual legacy they left behind. This seated Jain Tirthankara reflects a stark simplicity that stands in total opposition to the ornate rituals of the Vedic priests. Their doctrines offered strategic solutions to the crisis. By preaching ahimsa, or nonviolence, they immediately protected the agricultural cattle. By rejecting the Varna system, they offered a place in society to everyone the old laws had cast aside. They even bypassed the elite, gate-kept language of Sanskrit. Instead, they preached to the masses in local languages like Prakrit and Pali. These new philosophies were structural weapons designed to dismantle the specific economic and social chokeholds of the Late Vedic period. The marginalized, ultra-rich merchant class eagerly bankrolled these new movements. They used their wealth to fund the spread of ideas that finally gave them the social status the old laws had denied them. You can see that merchant wealth poured into stone. The elaborately carved gateways of the Great Stupa at Sanchi show the scale of resources moved to elevate these new faiths above the old rituals. These philosophies, starting as targeted reforms, dissolved the monopoly of the old guard and shifted the subcontinent's power structure toward the urban and merchant classes. Ancient Indian history proves a simple reality. When a social structure becomes rigidly exclusionary and ignores the economic needs of its people, an ideological revolution isn't just possible, it is inevitable.